There's a woman who died almost 30 years ago, blind since the age of 12. She never went to school. She never left a forgotten little village in the Balkans. And still, every single year, her name comes back to haunt the entire world. Baba Vanga. Every time the calendar turns, millions of people type that name into a search bar with their hearts in their throats, just to find out what the blind woman saw coming for them. And this year, 2026, what they say she predicted is enough to make your blood run cold. War, fire from the sky, things arriving from beyond this earth. And I'm going to confess something to you right up front, because I didn't come here to fool you. When I started studying this to bring it to you, I felt that same chill you might be feeling right now. But it wasn't the chill you'd expect. It wasn't fear of what she said. It was fear of something else entirely. It was fear of seeing how many people all over the world are running to the word of a blind fortune teller to learn their future, while the one book that holds the real answer sits collecting dust on the shelf. And this very year, in 2026, the whole world is going to stop again for the same spectacle I showed you last time. The biggest World Cup in history. And I can't stop putting those two things side by side. So stay with me, because I'm not going to give you what every other channel is giving you. I didn't come to repeat the blind woman's prophecy. I came to show you what she actually saw, what she could never see, and why that changes everything for you. Take a breath. Let's start with what they say she saw. Before we go one step further, let me ask you for one small thing, and then I promise I won't interrupt you again. If somewhere inside you there's even a quiet hope that there's a God who holds tomorrow in his hands, then do this for me right now while you're thinking about it. Tap that subscribe button. Not because I need the number, because what I'm about to walk you through is exactly the kind of thing the world scrolls past, and only the people who choose to stay ever really hear. And down in the comments, type one word for me. Just one. Type the word awake. Not for me. For you. So that months from now, when some of this starts to make sense in a way you didn't expect, you can scroll back and remember the nights you decided to stop sleeping through it. That's all I ask. Now let's get into it. Let me tell you who this woman was, because her story is strange enough on its own. Her birth name was Vanga. She was born back in 1911 in a region that today sits in North Macedonia. The story goes that at 12 years old, she was caught in a violent storm, a whirlwind that lifted her off the ground and left her buried in dirt and dust. When they finally found the girl, her eyes were packed with sand, and she never saw again, blind for the rest of her life. And it's from that exact moment, her followers say, that she began to see something else. Not with her eyes, with something nobody has ever been able to explain. She spent her whole life receiving people at her door, the simple and the powerful alike. Every one of them wanting the same thing you want right now, to know what's coming. And here's where what's circulating right now about 2026 comes in. Look at the size of what they're putting on her. The first one, the one that went the most viral, is a war. A big one that would start in the East and drag the rest of the world in behind it, putting the greatest powers on Earth face to face. The second is even stranger. They say she predicted that this year humanity would make first contact with something that is not of this Earth, that a massive craft would enter our atmosphere. And here's the eerie part. Right now, astronomers are tracking a real object coming from outside our solar system, an interstellar visitor that even got a technical name, and that's what lit this whole conversation on fire. Add to that natural disasters sweeping across nearly 1/10 of the planet, the fall of leaders who seemed untouchable, and thinking machines taking over everything. That's the menu of dread they dumped onto 2026. And I know exactly what that does to a person. I know because I watched it do it to me. You read something like that and your stomach drops because you turn on the news and it looks like all of it is already coming true. There's real war in the world. The ground is shaking. There's tension between nations like we haven't seen in a long time. And so your mind does what every human mind does. It goes looking for someone, anyone, to tell it what's going to happen, even if that someone is a blind woman who's been dead for 30 years. And it's exactly that hunger, that desperate hunger to know tomorrow, that I need you to understand first. Because that hunger wasn't born on the internet. It is far, far older than that. And it says something about you that even you might not know. Why is it that human beings chase the future so badly? Sit with that with me for a second, honestly. You don't run to a fortune teller out of silly curiosity. Nobody loses sleep over curiosity. You run because deep down, there's a voice that won't go quiet. A voice whispering that this world isn't going to stay the way it is. That something big is coming. You feel it. I feel it. And that feeling isn't weakness. It isn't paranoia. It isn't a lack of faith. Just the opposite. That restlessness is one of the most beautiful proofs that you were not made by accident. Because the Bible says in Ecclesiastes that God set eternity in the human heart. Eternity planted inside of you. That's why the present never satisfies you. That's why you always feel like something is missing. The problem isn't the hunger. The hunger is holy. The problem is where we go to feed it. And this is where I have to be very honest with you, with my heart in my hands, even if it stings. When a person feels the future closing in and doesn't turn to God to understand it, they don't just sit still and wait. They go looking somewhere else. They go to the cards, to the stars, to the dead, to the blind woman of the Balkans. And the Word of God is not lukewarm about this. It is blunt in a way that startles you. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, it's written in plain words. Let there not be found among you anyone who practices divination, or tells fortunes, or interprets omens, or consults the dead. Because the text says, everyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. And look, I don't bring you that verse to beat you over the head with it. I bring it to you because I want you to feel the size of the love behind that command. God doesn't forbid fortune telling because he's jealous with information. He forbids it because it is a poisoned well. It's filthy water handed to a person dying of thirst. It gives you one small sip of fear disguised as knowledge and leaves you thirstier and more lost than you were before. Because notice something nobody tells you about the predictions of Baba Vanga. They never give you peace. They only give you dread. And knowledge that only produces dread does not come from someone who loves you. So the question changes. It's no longer, did she get it right? The question is, why did I go asking the future from someone who can only frighten me, when there is someone who offers me the future and peace in the same hand? Now I have to tell you something that's going to sound like a contradiction, but stay with me to the end of the thought. Some people look at these predictions of war, of the earth shaking, of nation against nation, and they say, but doesn't the Bible say that too? And you know what? It does. It really does. And that's the part that messes with people's heads. When Jesus sat down on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples asked him what the signs of the end would be, he answered with words that read like today's headlines. He said, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars." He said nation would rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. He said there would be earthquakes in various places and famines. And then he said a line I wish I could tattoo on the mind of every person alive. "See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet." So watch what's happening here. The blind fortune teller and the Son of God seem to be staring at the same dark landscape from a distance. Both speak of war. Both speak of shaking, but this is where the resemblance dies, and it dies in a brutal way. Because one saw only the shadow, and the other saw the light standing behind the shadow. Baba Vanga, or whoever invented her words, hands you the terror, then abandons you there, alone, in the dark, heart pounding, with no way out, no meaning, no end. Jesus hands you the same warning, but he does three things the fortune teller could never do. He tells you not to fear. He tells you why, that it's necessary, that it's part of a larger plan. And he tells you how it ends. And how it ends is not destruction. It's him returning in glory to gather the ones who are his. That is the difference between a shadow and a sun. The shadow only shows you there's darkness. The sun shows you the darkness and pulls you out of it at the same time. So when someone asks you, "But what if Baba Vanga is right about the war?" you can answer with all the calm in the world. Maybe there will be a war, but not because a blind woman guessed it, and rather because the God who wrote history already warned us 2,000 years in advance and already told us how it ends. One robs you of your sleep. The other gives you back your rest in the middle of the storm. And that's why, in the middle of all of this, there's a detail nobody has connected yet. And I haven't been able to get it out of my head since the last video. Now here's the thing nobody is stopping to notice, and it's the reason I couldn't let this video go. Of all the years she could have landed on, of all the dates her followers could have circled, they circled this one. 2026. And ask yourself a question almost no one is asking. What else is happening in 2026? What is the one thing this entire planet is already planning to stop and watch this year, together, at the same hour? I told you about it in the last video. For the first time in history, 3 nations are holding the biggest World Cup ever staged. Billions of people, every continent, every time zone, all of them frozen in front of a single screen at the same moment, with their guard completely down. The very same year the blind woman marked as the year of war and dread is the year humanity has already agreed to gather as one. And I don't think those two things are sitting in the same calendar by accident. Now listen to me carefully, because here is where I refuse to lie to you the way other channels will. Baba Vanga never said one word about the World Cup. Not one. Anyone who tells you she predicted the tournament is selling you something. And that's exactly what makes this so much heavier, not lighter. Because the fortune teller pointed at a year with no anchor, no event, no reason, just a vague cloud of fear floating over 2026. But the calendar itself put the anchor there. The calendar, not the mystic, is what placed the largest gathering of human beings in history. Inside the very year, the whole world is already trembling about. She gave you the dread with no stage. Reality handed it a stage the size of the planet. And when fear and the biggest audience in human history land in the same 12 months, you don't need a prophet to feel that something about this year is different. Because the Bible describes, at the very end, a moment when humanity will not be scattered and divided the way it is today. It will be stitched together, united, looking the same direction, feeling the same emotion, moving to the same voice. And every great event that pulls the whole world under one flag, one symbol, one celebration, is a small rehearsal of that unity still to come. I am not telling you the World Cup is the end of the world. I'd be reckless to say that, and I won't. But I am telling you that the world is being trained, festival after festival, tournament after tournament, to feel together, to cheer together, to obey together, and a humanity rehearsing how to move. As one is exactly the soil the prophecy describes being prepared for the day. That figure, that shadow I asked you to hold on to last time, finally steps onto the stage the whole world is watching. And that's when the blind woman's game takes on a meaning she never had the eyes to see. While the world entertains itself guessing the future with cards and visions, the real future is being assembled right in front of it, in broad daylight, in the middle of the party, with an orchestra and fireworks and a billion phones held in the air. People are so busy hunting for the sign in the wrong place, in the mouth of a dead fortune teller, that they walk straight past the sign in the right one. They are so hypnotized by what she supposedly saw that they've gone blind to what is actually being built. And that is the knot in my throat, the irony I can't shake. The whole world afraid of a prophecy that can't save a single soul, gathered by the millions in front of one screen, and with its back turned to the only prophecy that can. So let me lay out a comparison that's going to put everything in its place. The followers of Baba Vanga like to say she predicted September 11th, the death of Princess Diana, and on it goes. And even if we accepted every one of those stories is true, and there's a lot stitched on after the fact, look at the pattern anyway. Her so-called prophecies are always vague, always blurry. The brothers will fall. Water will cover everything. Things that only make sense after the tragedy has already happened, when someone goes back and forces the pieces to fit. That's how all fortune-telling works. It's generic on purpose, so it can fit any disaster. It's like a horoscope. It works for everyone because it says nothing to anyone. Now compare that to the prophecy of the Bible. 700 years before Jesus was born, the prophet Isaiah wrote that a virgin would conceive and bear a son. Centuries ahead of time, Micah named the exact town where the Messiah would be born: Bethlehem. Psalm 22 described an execution by crucifixion, with a detail of pierced hands and feet, centuries before that kind of death even existed as a punishment. The Bible carries more than 300 specific prophecies about the first coming of Christ alone. And every one of them was fulfilled in a single person, in a single place, at a single time. That's not vague. It's not a horoscope. That's an address, a name, and a date. No fortune teller in history has ever come close to that, and none ever will. And that's why, my friend, I don't have the slightest fear of what they say Baba Vanga predicted. Not because I think the future is going to be easy. The future may be hard. The Bible itself warns it will be. I have no fear because I know whose hand holds the pen that writes the story. Whoever tells you maybe there'll be a war, maybe a craft will come, maybe a leader will fall, is shooting in the dark and hoping to hit something. But the one who named the right town 700 years before the hour isn't guessing at anything. He has already seen the final chapter. And when you find out you know the author of the last chapter, you stop trembling in the middle of the book. You still cry at the sad parts, but you don't despair, because you know how it ends. And it's exactly how it ends that changes everything. And that shows the blind woman's prophecy for what it really is. A horror story with no final page. Because every prediction of hers, without exception, leaves you hanging. War, and then what? A craft, and then what? Disaster, and then what? Nothing. Silence. Darkness. Even by her own death, she could only shove the end of the world all the way out to the year 5079, as if that were a comfort, as if living in fear for 3,000 years were good news. What kind of empty hope is that? What kind of gospel only knows how to postpone the terror? The Word of God does the opposite. It doesn't postpone the fear. It defeats it. It looks at the same darkness the fortune teller looked at and says, I know how this ends, and it ends well, for the ones who are with me. Because the book of Revelation, which is the most misunderstood book in the whole Bible, is not a book of dread. People only read the middle chapters and stopped right there, in the shock. But they never reach the end. And the end says this: God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, nor mourning, nor crying, nor pain, for the former things have passed away. Read that with me again, slowly. No more death, no more pain. That is the final chapter of the story that Baba Vanga could never see, no matter how many times they said she could see the future. She saw as far as 2026 and got lost in the dark. The Bible saw all the way to the end of everything, and the end of everything is a river of the water of life, a city of light, a people wiping away their tears forever. So think with me about the choice sitting in front of you. On one side, a blind woman dead for 30 years, offering you a menu of horrors with no exit and no meaning. On the other side, the living God, who has proven he knows the future by name and address, offering you the same warning about the hard times, but with a promise the fortune teller could never give. I will be with you. I win in the end, and I am taking you with me. Which of the two are you going to let live inside your head this year? Because that's what prophecy does. It doesn't just change what you know. It changes how you sleep. It changes how you raise your children. It changes the weight you carry when you turn on the news and watch the world catch fire. And I don't want you walking away from here afraid of Baba Vanga, because that would just be trading one cage for another. She has no power over your tomorrow. A blind woman who died in 1996 does not hold your destiny in her hands. No one does, except the one who formed you in your mother's womb. So when that name shows up on your phone again, and it comes back every year, you don't even have to click it with that chill in your chest. You can look at it from the height of someone who already knows whose pen this is. Not with contempt for the people who believe it, because they're only hungry and searching in the wrong place, the same way maybe you once searched. But with the calm of someone who found the right spring and doesn't drink from the dirty water anymore. And if this year of 2026, with everything they say is coming, with the biggest party in the world gathering all of humanity into one place, if this year is good for anything in your life, let it be good for this. For you to stop looking for the future in someone who can't give you any future at all. Open the book that's been sitting on the shelf. Look for the seer who never missed, who wrote your name into the final chapter before you were even born. Because the world is going to keep chasing fortune tellers, signs, and prophecies of dread. And it's going to keep sleeping badly. But you, after everything you heard here today, you don't have to be one of them anymore. You were woken up. And whoever has been woken up carries a duty the sleeping don't have, the duty to wake up somebody else. So do one thing for me, and mostly for the people you love. Take this video and send it to the person who lives afraid of the future, the one who shares every end of the world prophecy with their heart in their throat. Send it to the friend who believes the blind woman but never once opened the book. Because while the world spends the whole year asking what Baba Vanga saw, maybe the bravest thing you can do is to point calmly to the one who saw it all, saw it first, saw it better, and still looked you right in the eyes and said, "Do not be afraid. I have overcome the world." Let your eyes stay watchful. Let your heart rest. I'll see you in the next one. And may the Lord guard your tomorrow, which is already safe in His hands.